Greetings, fans, friends, neighbors. They're around somewhere. Back in my favorite spot under the boat. I just thought I'd bring you up to date on some of what's happened in the last few days. I'll spin around here. Probably can't get it all in, but there's the rudder. It's just been dry fit. I wanted to make sure it would go in lined up. Little issue with the bolts being a bit too long, but we can get around that. I had a question today from on the Bateau forums. A guy wanted to know about the unsupported length of shaft that comes out of the cutlass bearing, and I searched the internet for a definitive answer. But you know, the internet, the information's worth what you pay for it. So the best I could find is that the unsupported length of the shaft between the prop hub and the end of the cutlass bearing would be equivalent to about the same length as the cutlass bearing itself. And in this case, cutlass bearing is 5 inches, and I've got almost exactly 5 inches, a little tiny bit more than the cutlass bearing. The space was required for the spurs. If you don't know what spurs are, they're a blade that's fixed to the shaft, so when the shaft is turning, the blade is turning, and if you should happen to pull a mooring line or something through your prop, it will cut you free automatically. I know from reading on the internet that lobster fishermen don't like it. People running through their grounds and them losing their traps, cutting their floats free, etc. That's not the purpose. Here we have a lot of junk in the river in the spring, and I have to admit, we have pulled a line through the prop on our stern drive boat, and it was a Volvo Penta with the counter rotating propellers, and we really wound it in there good. We managed to get it out and get back to the dock after about 20 minutes of screwing around with it, but it's not something I'd relish doing on a boat like this. So the spurs went on. The next thing in line is a shaft zinc or anode. In this case, I think it's aluminum because we'll be mostly in fresh water, and I definitely wanted to have that to help reduce corrosion on the underwater exposed metal. And of course the prop, which isn't torqued on, so that will take up a little bit more space. I'm going to disassemble this now, and I've got to work on this part here. Those of you that have read my blog know I cast this in place. It's fiberglass reinforced resin with some glass beads and colloidal silica. It's fairly rough. I knew it was going to be, but it's perfectly formed to the bearing, cutlass bearing carrier, because I inserted the epoxy, screwed it in into its final resting position after I waxed it. I used the mold release wax on it and let it set up overnight. Come out the next morning, spun it off, and there's a perfect impression, and that actually worked pretty good. So I'm just going to move the camera a little bit, and I'm going to take this apart, and then we'll do a little bit of work here, because it's actually pretty nice and cool under the boat. It's about 95 degrees up in the boat, and I was working on the beds that the tanks will sit on, and eventually I couldn't see because I had sweat pouring down my face and my glasses. So we'll do this today. Stand by. Ooh. The propeller is a Michigan wheel Dynajet 3-blade. I bought this, I'm going to say at least 7 years ago when it came up on eBay. And I think I paid, I have to look it up, around $275. Now they're close to $800 between $800 and $900 for a prop. I just recently found, also on eBay, another 18-inch prop. It's slightly used and abused, but it can be refurbished, and that'll be our spare. It's got 1 inch less of pitch than this one, which is an 18 by 13. And I like to have a few key spares, prop, starter, water pump, alternator, things like that. I do have all kinds of nuts and bolts, fasteners, etc. Gotta be careful, these spurs are really friggin' sharp, and I don't know if you can catch that. I turn the shaft, the blades spin. The spinning blade needs an anvil that's held in place against the bearing carrier, and a rope that would get caught here would be quickly cut off. There we go. That's it. It's a pretty easy and simple system. That's exactly what I was hoping for. I'm going to pop you off the tripod here. This is the cast in place form. It takes up the fact that the aft end of the keel is perfectly vertical, but the shaft comes through on an 8-degree down angle. So I'll pan out here. There's the old rudder. That'll come apart next. Just going to do a quick tour around the boat here before I quit. It's about 100 degrees in here, and for us poor Canadians who spend 6 months in a deep freezer, this is a little hard getting used to. So I just want to show you. It's one of the mock-ups I've got for the bed for one of the waste tanks. I have 2 of these 31-gallon tanks, one for gray water, one for black water, and I originally was hoping that they would fit in this section, but I don't have enough height above the tank top to put in the drain, so I had to move them back. That's alright. It's just all of the plumbing and pumps, etc. will go in this area. They'll be accessible from the cockpit instead of inside the cabin, which may work out all right. All of the plumbing will run down behind the tank. They'll be cross-connected, the gray and the black water tanks, with pump outs on both sides and a selector valve that'll allow the black water tank to be dumped first, and then open the valve, and the gray water will run into the black water tank and be extracted, and it creates like a flush. I think that's how it's normally done. I've also moved my work table. It's now sitting over the engine, so I could access the Python drive when I fitted the prop. I covered the hole. I called that hole the leg breaker. I've slipped into it a few times, so my old workbench that used to go across the back of the boat became a walkway, and that's about it for now. Again, it's way too hot. Oh, I gotta show you this. I've fitted the rudder stuffing box and the prop shaft. It's all lined up. It rotates nice and easy. The next thing I'll do is I'll have to build a platform that'll hold the steadying bearing on, and also the mount for the hydraulic ram, which will sit here. Actually, the tiller arm will rotate around 90 degrees this way, so it will move like this, and the hydraulic ram will sit here on a platform, and that'll all be made out of white oak and fiberglass, etc. So there you have it. I'm turning it into a soup sandwich here, so I'm going to sign off. Thanks for looking in, and stop in frequently. Check out our blog site, and like, share, and favorite this movie if you enjoyed it. Thanks very much. Bye.